I'll phone them.
Why? The Boswells are expecting us. And you aren't a man who lets people down. Are you, Charles?
Night, Queen. Night, Mary. Night, Jane. I'll tell you tomorrow morning. Good night. Hey, I'll get to bed now. Good night. Night, Rhoda. Yeah, what about a kiss, darling? Hi, I'll give you more than that. Oh. Right, girls, that's it. Then quieten down now. Good night.
I absolutely adore airports.
You wouldn't if you to spend as much time in them as I do, Mrs. Radley.
Oh, but yes, all those people rushing off to exotic places.
Birmingham, Newcastle, Dusseldorf.
I'm afraid Beth doesn't enjoy being disillusioned, Mr. Boswell. She prefers to think of you jetting off to Acapulco.
I prefer to think of me jetting off to Acapulco.
Don't you ever wish you could go with him?
To Dusseldorf? Sometimes.
I would. Anywhere.
A romantic.
A sybarite.
Take it from me, Mrs. Radley. All a commuting businessman ever sees of glamorous foreign parts are the insides of taxis, conference rooms and hotels.
Super. Sybarites love hotels. Elegant, lush, blissful.
Anonymous, functional, lonely.
Ah, now there's a word I recognise. Tell me, Mrs. Boswell, is that why you took up prison work? Because your husband's away so much?
Well, I didn't exactly take it up instead of knitting, if that's what you mean.
Couldn't have. She's a lousy knitter.
Did you feel you had a vocation?
Oh,
Charles has, hadn't you, darling?
That's fine.
A vocation.
Oh, it's just a job we sometimes feel we can do reasonably well, and often know we can't.
I think outsiders like us have to accept it's a way of life, Mrs. Radley. They have their own mistake. We're wiser not to pry.
Do you ever get the chance? I don't.
To pry?
To question, criticise.
My wife has her own opinions on how the prison service should be run.
Well, I'd be surprised if she hadn't.
I mean, why do you allow them to wear their own clothes, for instance? I think that's ridiculous.
Oh, no. Do we want to go into this just now?
You don't mind, do you, Mr. Boswell?
Oh, I'm used to it. I did say it's a way of life.
They use makeup. They go to night school. It's really more like a holiday camp than a place of punishment.
To be deprived of freedom is in itself a tremendous loss, Mrs. Radley, especially for a woman. Women don't take too kindly to discipline.
Well, they wouldn't be there if they hadn't broken the law, would they?
Beth won't be happy till they bring back the rack and the thumbscrews.
Don't be absurd, Charles. It's just that I don't see how going to the other extreme and pampering them acts as any kind of deterrent.
Prison's no joyride, I can assure you. There's no privacy, no locks on the loose, unpleasant duties to be performed. But informed help can still be the most effective deterrent.
Teaching them to make cuddly toys?
If that's the therapy they need, yes. Being in prison gives a woman time to think about what went wrong. We have a woman at the moment. No prison record until she was 48. Unfulfilled. She became obsessed about her children. She indulged them. Then they grew up. They didn't need her anymore, except for money.
What about her husband?
Oh, they can't talk to each other. For him, she's just part of the furniture.
Sounds like every husband I've ever met.
More coffee, anyone?
Oh, well, I bloody will. Going down. She'll see.
Oh, that was a super meal, Mrs. Boswell.
Thank you.
I'd love the recipe for that mousse thing.
You'll have to ask Bill for that. I think it's one of the things he brought back from Dusseldorf.
Mrs. Boswell, I owe you an apology. I behaved very badly.
Not to me.
I shouldn't have made you witness our private vendetta. Only he's got so much integrity.
And that's one of the hardest things to forgive.
Create such an impregnable defense. It's like turning the other cheek.
But one's still left with the frustration.
Oh, yes. That keeps on growing. I don't underestimate his strengths, Mrs. Boswell. In anyone else, I'd admire them enormously.
But in a husband, they can be hell.
They can. If you happen to be weak, selfish and demanding like me.
Your description or his?
Oh, no, mine. Oh, I do at least know myself that well. It's a very tiny virtue. I'm not the stuff martyrs are made of.
Would Charles want to be married to a martyr?
That's what he needs. A woman who will sacrifice herself entirely to the demands of his job. Those women that you were talking of, well, of course I know they deserve pity and help. But I resent them, Mrs. Boswell. I'm jealous of them.
Go with the women. He won't come back. Oh, God. Dear God in heaven, hear me. Let me out of it. Let me out of it. Let me out.
I didn't get any sleep last night, right?
Oh, Janice, you've got to come sometime. You might as well do it now. Go on, please.
Here, what's all that racket about?
No, Rhoda.
Please, miss.
Look, I'm glad you're feeling better, but I'm not prepared to listen to any more of your
I'm
tales.
not lying this time, miss. It's true this time.
I hoped you'd stopped all that nonsense, Rhoda.
God's honour. Half a bottle of gin she's got. She keeps it in her jacket pocket. Here, you can take me to the governor. Mrs. Boswell will believe me.
Come on, Miss Berry. You're not wasting her time again.
Oh, no, I won't. I swear I won't. This time I'll give her names, everything.
Janice Quinn, come with me.
Where?
Governor wants to see you.
Big deal. What for?
Well, she'll tell you that when you get to her office. You too, Rhoda.
Not me?
What the hell?
She's done it, Janice. She's grasped on you.
Come on, you two, right away.
I won't!
I've had enough, Janice! Stop that nonsense and come out at once.